Well, hello. Welcome to True Crime Broads. Renee, are you with me?
I am here.
Woo! The fifth time is a charm. Let's hope that this
Mhm.
works. We've been having some technical difficulties, so we're happy to be here and happy to be on the air. And Renee, I know you and I talked on the phone before we decided to record tonight, and I had been having a conversation with my husband, and we sort of got onto the broader topic of this case, which is, what would it take to get this case solved? And I jotted down some ideas from our conversation as we were brainstorming. Do you want me to go ahead and go over those, or did you want to start by
Yeah.
saying something? Okay, I'll go ahead
No,
and start.
yeah.
Okay. I think that it's going to take three things, and some of these were my husband's ideas, and I'm just sort of regurgitating his ideas and adding to them. Um, he was saying basically there's three things that needs to happen. One would be an outside help, more outside help. I know they've had some, and we talked about that on the last podcast, but I'm talking about a joint task force, maybe where they could share the credit. I think, from my understanding, what might be going on here, there's some situations with egos getting in the way or people concerned about who's going to get credit.
Right.
Possibly they're circling the wagons, not wanting to let anyone in to help. And, you and I were talking about this on the phone earlier. We don't know. Are they refusing to talk because they know who it is and they just want to try to get enough evidence to bring that person to justice? Or is it that they really are lost and they might be embarrassed that maybe something went haywire in the investigation and who knows, did they lose evidence? I mean, something, I don't know, I'm just speculating, but is whatever the case may be, I just think it's time for them to crack the door open to some help, or at least crack the door open and not be so mysterious. Let the media in. Let somebody know something. You don't have to tell us. If MPD has a suspect that they are closing in on or trying to close in on, you don't have to tell us who it is. Just let the public know that their safety is not an issue. You are watching someone. You've got someone under surveillance. We've discussed before how we personally know people who live close to the church that are concerned for their own safety. They don't like even stepping outside for a couple minutes in the evenings. That is a problem for the residents. Do you have anything you want to add to that, or you want me to just go down my list of three things?
Oh, you can go ahead. I made a little list too, so you can go over yours and then we'll compare.
Okay, great. And then number two, the new district attorney that has been elected needs to play a much more active role in this case. And that's not a legal role, it's a political role. It's time to see some interest and action and maybe just even talk about it a little bit. The district attorney that they have currently, who's on his way out, there's already been a new one elected, but of course that won't actually go into place until January. But um, it's time for this new DA to start working on her reelection campaign. Just understand that the people of Ellis County really care about Missy Bevers and they really care about her murder. And they also really care about their own public safety. So it is time to step up and take responsibility for this. And then I think the third thing is they're going to need some luck. And you know what they say about luck, that's when preparation and opportunity come together. So I would say basically it boils down to those three things. They need outside help, they need the district attorney to play a more active role, and they need some luck on their side, and they need to be prepared for when that luck comes. And basically, we need some courage, some determination, some humility. We don't need turf wars, small mindedness, circling the wagons. We don't need any of that. It's time for everyone to push up their sleeves and work get out of the mindset of credit. And if it takes a joint task force to make that happen, then so be it. It's time to move forward working on this case.
I couldn't agree with you more on every bit of that. I mean, it's absolutely. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, something's got to happen. If you're just spinning your wheels and nothing's happening, and it's you can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. You've got to change it up. You got to go, okay, what can we do differently? Because this isn't working. We got to do something else. Let's get this done. It just feels like they just kind of let it just. They just kind of let it go in a way. And we don't know that. We don't know. They may be, eagerly, going at it every day, but we don't know because they don't update us on anything. We don't, and I know it's not their job to go, oh, well, let's just let everybody know. But I mean, in a sense, we do need to know. We need to know, are we still looking for, like you said, a homicidal maniac, who's running the streets of Midlothian, Ellis County, whatever. I mean, we need to know something. We don't know. The last time we heard from them was 2019.
There's no excuse for that. There's just no excuse for that. The public needs to demand answers. And I just think it's a problem that the police department that is in charge of this investigation hasn't had, a complicated murder case more than once in a generation. That's just, bring in some people from New Orleans, bring in some detectives from St. Louis, bring in some detectives from Philadelphia, bring in some detectives from Baltimore, just places that have murders on a regular basis, that have more complicated cases. Help is needed here, and it's needed desperately. This is a solvable case.
The thing that irritates me is that, we have a million cases that you could cover, read about, talk about, whatever. And I have, read over some of the information and listened to some podcasts and listened to some news conferences and things like that about different cases. And one of them that comes to my mind is the Delphi case. The state police superintendent, Doug Carter, he's on there and he's talking like, you think that we're not going to come find you? He's talking to the killer. He's like, oh, yes, we are. You want to know what we know? Oh, you're going to find out because we're going to catch you. I mean, he ain't playing. He's sitting there talking, him, and he's just, making, some comments that would make somebody go, oh, goodness, like, they ain't playing. I mean, that's the kind of thing we need. We need some aggression. We need some seriousness. We need somebody that means business. And they may, we're not saying that they don't mean business, but we're not seeing it. It just would be nice for them to get on there and go, hey, we haven't forgotten y'all. We're still working on this. We're trying some different things, but I mean, we don't know, because when you don't hear from them in it's like I said, it's been, last time we heard from them was April of 2019. I mean,
inexcusable.
It is.
And do you know what else is inexcusable? Is the district attorney has never spoken publicly about this case.
Never.
When does that happen? That's ridiculous.
Yeah, that is ridiculous.
And then something else that's Carl Smith, who seems like a perfectly nice guy, the chief of police there in Midlothian. I'm sure he's a great person, but it's very bizarre to me that he has only spoken publicly about this case the day of the murder. He was there at the podium at the press conference, but haven't seen hide or hair of him since then. And I'm just really confused. I don't understand why we're not hearing from these people. What do you think? What do you think is driving the secrecy? Do you think they have someone, Renee, or do you think that they're embarrassed and they just want to face the public? Yeah, I'm still here. Can you not hear me?
I lost you for just a second, but I heard most of what you said.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of think it's a mixture. Of course, we're speculating about what we think the police have done, but I mean, that's all we can do because we don't know, and we should know. I mean, they are keeping people, up to date about what is going on with the Delphi case. And that's just one case that I've looked at. I'm sure I could find many more. And where I know it's not an easy thing, I think that people need to be kept, they need to be kept accountable for what is going on so that the public knows. Because yes, we in harm's way? Are we in danger? Do we,
Right.
what do we do? We don't know. Nobody's told us anything. I
And
think it's a combination of people. I think it's a combination of they thought they had it solved. They thought they knew who did it. And this is just my thinking. And it ended up that it wasn't like they thought it was. And somebody was trying to solve it and didn't want outside help, whatever. And that didn't work for them. And now they're kind of lost and don't know what to do. That's what I think. So they
yeah,
don't know
who
what
knows?
to say, you
Yeah,
know?
who knows? And whatever the case may be, even if they are zeroed in on someone and they know who did it, MPD does not have to tell us who their suspect is, but they could give us an update just so that we know that our safety isn't threatened pretty much all the time. I mean, as a resident of that area, people not even wanting to step outside for a few minutes, that's a problem.
Exactly.
And
It is a problem.
and like you were saying about the Delphi case, we have, you know, I see some similarities in that case between that case and Midlothian police. And then I see some, just like you said, things that aren't similar at all. Like they're members of their police force talking right into the camera, talking to the killer. And we can't even get MPD up to the podium at all.
Yeah.
It's pretty amazing.
And I wonder why, I just tried to think in my mind of what would be the reasons. And the only thing I can think of, I mean, and the easiest answer to me is they don't know what to say, you know?
Yeah. And because here's the way I look at it. If you are closing in on someone, you don't have to even tell us that. All you have to say is this is an active investigation. We do have a suspect. For the good of the case, we cannot share how close or how far away we are from making an arrest. You're just going to have to trust us. We're working on this day and night.
Right.
We will get the killer. This killer will not go free any longer. 4 years has been enough. If they would just say that much, we would all go, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's communication is the key here. It's not that hard to, update everybody, whatever it is that you want, however you want to do it. It's just a simple thing. And I don't get, my mind just doesn't get why they can't do that much.
Right. I mean, I would think that they should have a task force of have Ellis County Sheriff's Office over there helping, Texas Rangers, anybody you can get, and make it a joint task force. If they are having a hard time sharing, um, they're not wanting to share the credit if they solve it, then figure out a way to make it a task force. But I don't think that there's anyone at this point that thinks that a small department like MPD is going to solve this and prosecute this successfully. Um, I hope I'm wrong, but and I think I can't even believe I just said that because it sounds so horrible, but I don't know I mean, maybe I'm in the minority. Maybe people out there know that they're going to solve this and maybe I'm just having an off day, but what do you think, Renee? I just don't know what to think anymore, but I just feel like they need help. It's been over 4 years and I don't think this is an unsolvable case.
No, I don't think so at all. I really don't. I mean, I get that they, covered up completely from head to toe. But I don't believe that there's a perfect murder. I know that there are murders that do go unsolved, obviously, thousands and thousands and thousands of them. But I do think that, because you see these cases all the time where somebody else comes in and they see something that the first officer didn't see, or one of the investigators missed, or whatever. So I really feel like, if they would, work together with other agencies, and I know that they have, but if that didn't work, then you need to keep trying. You got to work and work with someone else. Whatever you got to do. I agree with you. It just needs to happen, and it's frustrating that we feel like it's at a standstill. I mean, we're thinking that it's like a cold case and y'all are done. They're not working on it anymore at all.
Well, that's the way they've made it look. So
Exactly.
I don't really feel guilty for thinking that anymore.
Yeah.
Because that's the impression that they've left through their decisions and their actions. Just if you're not going to talk to us about it for what, a year, then what are we supposed to think is going on as the
You
public?
know, I mean, I get that there's that the whole COVID-19 thing is going on. I get it. I mean, you're constantly reminded of that everywhere you go, so it's not like we don't understand that, but I still don't think that there's no way they couldn't have worked in, a 15-minute update about the case. I just don't believe that. I don't believe that there's
No,
any way that they could not work that in,
I agree.
So
I agree. And I
I'm not
just don't
buying that
know,
one, but
and
some of the
there's
things
been
that
a lot of,
I
oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
oh I it cut out for a second, so I wasn't sure what was happening.
It's
our
okay.
our
Go ahead.
our
Sorry.
connection tonight is really weird, but anyway, I made a list, and whenever you told me you had three, I thought, oh my gosh, I have like eight, but but
Go ahead. No,
it's
that's good.
it's kind of some of the same stuff that you have. Number one, start over fresh. I know that I've we've seen it time and time again where people have had to start completely over from the very beginning. Obviously, there's going to be some things that you can't start over with. You're going to have to use the pictures that were taken, the videos, um, the body cams, things like that. Hopefully, they had those. We don't know, but start over fresh. Interview more friends and family, and give more information out to the public. I mean, just one little piece of information, anything that you can give. I mean, maybe another 5 seconds of video. I don't know. I mean, that they were there for how long? 30 minutes, 28 minutes, 25 minutes, and we have 2 minutes and 26 seconds of video. So, release another piece of video. I don't know, something. Ask for more assistance from other agencies. You already mentioned that. I mean, there's got to be places that have been through something similar to this and they can get some information from, and then communicate with the public. We already said that. That's definite because we don't know anything. Find a journalist who will talk and who will, that's what they're there for. The media is there for that, and we haven't heard. We don't even have any media that's interested in this case, and it's super weird.
Doesn't make any
Before it was
sense.
on every channel that we had on TV that in the Dallas Fort Worth area had this case on every single channel, and now nothing.
What is going on with that? And the media is always clamoring for interesting things to cover. This is absolutely fascinating and of extreme local interest. And also just, I would think that in the hands of, I mean, where, it's interesting, there's people like Robert Wolonsky here locally and Skip Hollingsworth. I'm thinking about contacting them and seeing if they would have any interest in doing a piece on this, because it's just such a huge mystery and it needs to be brought into the public eye more. And, just brainstorming earlier, I was thinking of them, and I don't know. It's just incredible. If anyone out there listening has any ideas, please shoot them to us if there's anything we can do. Or if you could do it yourself. If you have any connections in the media, please, please, please ask them to rattle the cages of MPD. Ask if they can give us some information. Because really, I don't think NPD obviously means to do this, but the message that they're sending is it's okay to murder someone who is minding their own business. I mean, an innocent woman going to make some money for her family and helping impacting people in a positive way and helping people feel better about themselves. And she was just, she wasn't doing anything wrong. And she gets brutally murdered that morning. I mean, why is that okay? Why do we just go, yeah, we're not even going to talk about it anymore because it's not that important. How did that happen, Renee?
Yeah, I can hear you now. I couldn't for a while.
Okay. Sorry. I had this huge and then I was like, hello. Okay.
Maybe they
So
could hear it and I couldn't. I don't know.
that's really weird.
I know.
I don't understand why we're struggling, like why you can't hear me sometimes. That's so weird. So sorry about that. So anyway, so another thing I was thinking is, yes, we should definitely, any of us interested in this case needs to start using any media connections that they have. Um,
And I think we should also start tagging the different medias, and I guess even the, I don't know, police departments, whoever, in all of our social media posts.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, just I guess just keep on until we get someone's attention. I guess
Yeah, it would be great. I mean, I have been, and I think I need to start reaching out directly to people. I mean, I'm looking at our True Crime Broads Instagram right now, just pulled it up. We have 692 followers, which is nice.
hmm
I'm following uh way more than that, but hopefully, I mean, I would just love it if anyone in the media would pick this up and really pursue it, not just give us a recap every year,
yeah,
but really, really pursue justice for Missy. Why aren't the police talking?
yeah,
What's the silence about? Is
yeah,
it okay to just kill someone in Ellis County?
yeah. Apparently,
Obviously it's not, but I would like to see a lot more outrage from the district attorney's office. I'd like to see a lot more outrage from the law enforcement. It's just been way too quiet. This woman lost her life, and those three daughters lost their mother. Can you imagine going through um, dating and decisions that you have to make, college applications, even prom dresses? I mean, all the minor, major, and sentimental decisions that you turn to your mother for, she's gone. This person didn't just destroy Missy's life. This person destroyed an entire family. And then,
yep,
of course, we've got Missy's family of origin suffering.
yep.
I really don't understand. I don't understand how we got here. It just seems like such a lackadaisical response to an innocent human being murdered.
I wonder if there's someone in the family that would be interested in kind of, being the spokesperson or something, somebody to kind of get things rolling, because that's usually who can put the pressure on. And I don't know if there's, I don't know if there's somebody in the family that would be willing to do that. But I mean, typically, when family members, because in the Delphi case, Kelsey German is the sister of
Yes.
Liberty German, and she's the one that's kind of taken over this. And at the time of their death, she was 17, and of course now she's 20, and she's kind of taken over that role, and she's been on
Mm-hmm.
podcasts. I mean, she's done all these different things, and she's managed to um, they've got this kind of like they're going to do an Abby and Libby Memorial Park. They've got 3 softball fields. It's going to be there, an
Mm-hmm.
amphitheater, a
Mm-hmm.
walking trail, a memorial path with different names of victims that have, I guess, family members that have been murdered, in maybe the area. I'm not sure about that part of it, but she's also a social media advocate, and
Mm-hmm.
just, she's 20 years old. I mean, for her
Yeah.
to be doing that, it's keeping, you know, the police, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of keeping them connected and able to
Right.
go through and do stuff. And I just wish that there was somebody,
And
and I'm not saying that because there isn't, that it means anything, that nobody cares. But I just feel like if a family member was like, we need some answers, what's going on, blah, 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 I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that would make a huge difference.
Yeah, that you make a good point. And I think you might remember, our listeners might remember at the beginning of our last podcast I mentioned that victimology podcast.
hmm
And that's right. Liberty German's sister that you were talking about, Kelsey German, was actually the guest on that podcast I listened to, and she just did a really good job. And
She
bless her
did.
heart, I've heard her on other podcasts talking about how she has some feelings of guilt because she was the one who dropped Liberty and
Oh,
Abigail off, Libby and Abby off because they were wanting to go to the park. But of course, she can't feel guilty about that. But
no,
that's human nature to feel that way. But
right.
that's what they wanted to do, and it was a very nice thing for her to do, to drop them off there. So I hope and pray that she'll find that peace someday, but I know it must be difficult, and it must be very cathartic for Kelsey German, the older sister, to be able to go on podcasts and talk about her sister and talk about the case and do the things that you described in the community, because it really not only keeps her sister's name in front of law enforcement, it just keeps her name alive in general, and hopefully will over time that will take over those feelings of guilt that she's had.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. Things like that are wonderful. I know that there's a fantastic lady named Renee Jones that was Missy's trainer, actually, that recruited her to become a member of Camp Gladiator and taught her how to do the job. And I know that she's been behind the 5K for the Salvation Army. I think they did that in Missy's name. I don't have details, but I just remember she's been associated with those activities. And Missy had also worked with Renee Jones on activities to help others before she was murdered. So just I agree with you. Those things are cathartic for the victims' friends and family, and it helps keep their name out there. I hope that they'll continue those things and even do more as time goes on. I just I don't know what to say or do about this case sometimes anymore. I mean, I know I've said a lot tonight,
No,
but lately, yeah, I can hear you fine. I haven't had any trouble hearing you at all.
no, I could hear you. I was just going to say another thing that I forgot to mention earlier, and I don't know why this wasn't at the top of my list because I was actually driving down the road the other day, and it's kind of funny because me and you, sometimes we think completely different and from different perspectives, of course, and then sometimes we are exactly on the same page. And I was driving down the road and I was thinking about the case, and I was just like, there's got to be something, there's got to be something, there's got to be something. And I looked up and I seen this billboard, and I thought, wouldn't that be great if we could get a billboard with, I don't know,
Yeah.
have you seen this person or who killed Missy or do you know anything? I don't know. Just somebody would have to collaborate on what would be best to put on a billboard. And I was like trying to figure out like how much it would cost. And I called a couple places and left a message because you go down the road and it'll say, does this billboard work? And it says it just did. And it has a phone number. So I called and I didn't get an answer. I don't know. Maybe they were closed because of, the COVID-19. But anyway, I had thought about that. That was the only thing I could think of that was completely
Hmm.
different than anything that we've thought of before. And I don't know how often people do billboards. I know of one other case that the billboard was up, and that was the only reason I knew about the case. It was many years ago, and it happened in Ellis County. But it was the only reason I knew because they had a picture of a woman and a baby, and it was like, "Who killed us?" or something like that. So I thought, man, I wish
Mm.
I knew. I don't know how those things, like if the family pays for them or if people just raise money. But if anybody has any ideas or think, any information about those, that
Yeah,
would be neat.
I would think it would probably be pretty easy to get some kind of a crowdsourcing thing together where we could get enough money for a billboard. That's a good idea. I mean, shoot,
You
nothing
know
else
what?
has worked.
Right. And you know what's crazy about that whole thing is that one of our listeners, the one that is from, she's from Texas. Anyway, she said today something about getting a billboard up, and I was like, that is so crazy because I was just thinking about that the other day, and I wonder how much it would cost. So it's kind of funny because we're all kind of on the same, page on that. But that was one thing I thought of, and I thought that would be,
One thing though I would vote for, and of course we would open this up to anyone who donated money or anyone who's listening, of course, any supporter of Missy's case. Um, but here's my vote, if I may be so bold as to vote first. But I would say that it should be in Ellis County, and I would recommend maybe on I-35 with the maximum amount of traffic going by.
right. Oh, I agree. I agree. And I think the one that I seen, because I was thinking about one on 287, but I think that one doesn't
Oh,
have
that's
enough
true.
traffic. Well, there's not as much traffic on 287. I mean, there is, but I mean, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't.
maybe because maybe 35 would bring in out of towners and hit Ellis County residents also, maybe.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But yeah,
Or
I
even
thought of 287 too, though. But then I don't know, for some reason I was had 35 kept popping in my head.
yeah, or even 67. Now, I don't know. 67 does end at some point, so I don't know. But anyway, I seen a billboard and I thought that to my mind in my mind. I thought, man, that would be great because, like I said, I remember that case. And I think we talked about it before, and I can't give you names right off the top of my head, but it was the woman that she was murdered, and her grandson, what she left, I guess she left, I don't know if she left the grandson or not, but she was in the vehicle with her grandson, and I guess whoever it was that killed her took her out of her car and killed her. Well, the baby got left in there, and the baby inevitably died because being left in a
Yeah.
hot car. Really sad. Anyway, I just remember the billboard having the picture of her and her grandson, And I thought, huh, that's weird. What is that about? And then I found out what the case was about, and so I just thought that maybe that's some option we have,
Yeah.
get some attention.
Right.
So
Yeah. And also I think that I mean there was a new district attorney recently voted in to replace the current one, whose name is Patrick Wilson. And the new district attorney, my understanding is I don't know what her name is. It escapes me right now. I should have looked it up. But
are you
she,
talking about the one that I went
yeah,
talked to?
the one you went to the rally and
Ann
spoke to.
Montgomery?
What's her name?
Ann Montgomery?
Okay, so Anne Montgomery is taking over that role. And if you are comfortable at all talking about your conversation with her, just if you would just share that, that'd be amazing.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I've been hearing you the whole time.
Okay, go ahead.
I was just going to say, if you're comfortable at all discussing your conversation with Anne Montgomery, when you met her at that rally, is there any part of that you'd like to share?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Okay.
Okay, so um, apparently um, she had a meet and greet, and it was in Midlothian, and there was actually two. One for the other person that was running, and I don't remember her name off the top of my head, but there was a meet and greet. And I didn't know which one I was going to go to because I really didn't know a lot about them. I had found out at the last minute um, that something was going on, that they were even having this meet and greet. So I went ahead and decided to go ahead and attend. And anyway, she ended up showing up to the facility, and I think it was probably, I don't know, maybe like it was a little bit later. I think it started at like 6, and she ended up getting there about 6:30. But anyway, I was the only one that showed up. And so I told her that I was there and I was, representing um, some constituents in Ellis County and wanted to talk to her about the Missy Bevers case. And basically, in a nutshell, I was there for the full hour, but in a nutshell, she basically explained to me that um, she she kind of explained it to me like this: that there was another case that had been going on in the county, Ellis County, and basically that case got um, didn't go the way they had planned it to, and it ended up getting the person ended up getting they ended up getting I'm sorry, I can't figure out how I'm wording this. They ended up seeing that the person ended up being not guilty when they thought they had a slam dunk case, is what I was trying to say. And so I said, so are you saying that y'all have someone and you don't have a case, so you're just not going to do anything? And she just kind of danced around it. I mean, I'm sorry to say that, but that's the way I felt. She kind of danced around it, didn't really give me any solid information. It was just, it was very odd.
Well, and I remember at the time afterwards, I remember it was really cold when you went. I remember that. I remember
Yeah,
thinking, oh, Renee got out in the cold and went to
right.
that event. That's probably why she didn't have anyone show up because it was one of those really cold evenings. Um, and I remember you saying at the time that when you sort of asked that question that you posed the question that you sort of just explained about, if you have someone or what, and then she sort of flipped over to that case and she just said it's not as easy as the public thinks it is. Am I remember that? Do I remember that accurately?
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't know. It just the more I think about that over time, I hadn't thought about that in a while, but it almost sounds like the DA's office is making excuses. And I just wish that we knew more so that we wouldn't feel that way when we hear stuff like that. But I don't know. And there's another thing that came out of the DA's office pertaining to the Missy Bevers case. They had executed a search warrant on someone who was apparently a POI at the time. And we don't know if they found any evidence. They obviously didn't find enough, or else there would have been an arrest. But we don't know what was actually. We saw the return warrant, but we don't know how much of that's going to turn into evidence, if any of it. But unrelated to Missy's case, they found child pornography on this POI's devices while they executed this search warrant in the Missy Bevers murder. Now, we have a man with a considerable amount of child pornography on his devices. Okay. I don't remember the exact number. I was looking at the arrest record
I
the other
think it was
day.
a
It was
large
kind of,
number. I don't remember the number either, but
yeah, it was split up into pieces. They said something like there was like 20 of this type of an image and 19 of that kind. It was around 50, maybe 56, 58 images. So that's not something that is accidentally downloaded. That's a deliberate collection. I think we can agree on
right.
that. So we have child pornography. Child pornography. Just let that sink in for a minute. And guess what the Ellis County District Attorney's Office did?
What?
Nothing.
I had to ask that just so
They
you could answer that.
you let me have my dramatic
All right.
nothing. They did not prosecute it. That's outrageous.
That is
I
outrageous.
spoke to an attorney. I ran that past an attorney, and he said that should have been a slam dunk indictment.
Yeah. I
I
agree.
mean, what? Now we heard some information about, oh, well, the device wasn't password protected. Um, so I don't understand. I do not understand why the district attorney would, why that office would go, nah, we're not going to prosecute that. Um, I don't understand that. Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't. Absolutely doesn't make sense to me, and I don't understand it. I don't know why that wasn't like a. I don't know. I don't understand why, it would be like, oh, okay, well then just forget it, Like, no.
Well, and they held the man in jail there for 72 days because he couldn't afford the $200,000 bail. I understand that. Um, why then did they and I assume during that 72 days they were hoping to get him to talk, if he was indeed Missy Beaver's killer, they were going to try to get him to talk while they had him locked up. Apparently he didn't, because he's, off at home somewhere
Right.
living his life. So my question is, regardless of whether or not you can find any evidence to tie him to Missy's case, regardless of if he's guilty or innocent of killing Missy, this completely separate, very serious felony charge, why did that just get let go?
It's
Unbelievable.
so weird.
I think that people should be demanding
I
answers.
agree.
And hey Renee, I got your message. We're going to take a quick break and we will be right
Okay.
back. Thank you for joining us.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast, and it's free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today.
Welcome back to True Crime Broads. We just went on a break. Renee, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Well, that was kind of hilarious. You were having your own like true crime situation unfolding and you were
Um,
trying to tell me, and I was like, hang on, I'm on a roll. Let's just, I didn't say I
I'm
was on a roll, but I was thinking it. I was like, let's keep talking about this for a minute and then we'll break. And sorry, I didn't realize that you had a situation actually unfolding. So that's, and you know what? I thought we were having connectivity issues, reception issues. So I kind of did hear you doing something in the background, but then I thought it was interference on the line. That was funny.
Oh, wow. I know. It was crazy that there was some people here at the hotel, and mind you, I'm pretty particular where I stay at. I don't stay usually in bad neighborhoods if I can figure out that, they aren't. And I don't stay in, the places that you would typically see stuff like that. And I've never had a problem here. I've stayed here so many times over the past 3 years, never had a problem. And then today it's just been all day, it's just been ruckus going on all day. And then while we were having the podcast, somebody was outside the door and in another room, and they were making lots of noise. And all of a sudden, they literally slammed up against the door. Like I thought they were coming through the door. And can you hear me?
I can totally hear you. Yes.
Okay, good. And while you were talking, thank goodness you were talking, I just put the phone down for a second and called the front desk. And I was like, there's a problem up here and you need to get up here and fix it now. And so anyway,
Hmm.
he did. And then you helped me take the break that we needed to take. And then the cops came, and it was really crazy. And what's so stupid about the whole thing is that the cops came, there was like 6 cop cars, and then everybody went their separate ways, and now they're back out there again. Now they're not making any noise, but it's still just, when you have people hanging out after midnight, it's just typically they're up to no good. So
I am. I had no idea that was unfolding. I was just la 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 blowing through my speech there. Okay, so I guess kind of where we left off, I was basically just talking about the district attorney's office and how confused I am about why they didn't prosecute the child pornography, which I thought that would get prosecuted regardless of anything else going on in the world. I just thought
exactly.
I just can't imagine that that got glossed over like that. I'm sure they have some kind of an explanation for it, but I can't imagine what it is. It just seems unacceptable. But the woman that you were talking about in Montgomery,
Hmm.
it sounds like she is the um district attorney elect, and she came from his office, the current district
Yeah.
attorney. Patrick Wilson. Sorry, I keep saying I'm trying not to, and I keep doing it. But there, I did it again. It's a horrible habit.
It's very
Stop with
easy.
the
Yeah, I get
ums.
it.
Oh my gosh, I hate it. Sorry, everybody. But anyway, Patrick Wilson, I said his office is the same as Ann Montgomery's
Right.
office. So really, they basically the people of Ellis County just reelected basically the same office. So I don't really know how they differ. Did she point out any differences between herself and Patrick Wilson, or is she basically aligning herself?
She's aligning herself. She talked about because we discussed a little bit about some of the issues that Patrick Wilson had while he was in office, or he's still in office, but you know what I'm saying, by the majority of his tenure there. And she talked a little bit about that. She didn't talk a whole lot about it, but she defended him and explained that um, she kind of is in the same thinking that he's in. And I believe that because of the things that she said about the case. It was just kind of like, well, so it wasn't a
Interesting.
positive experience, I can tell you that.
Interesting. Well, I just hope that something changes over the next year. I just don't think that we can do 4 more years of this. I really hope that something breaks loose in this case, obviously. And I'm sure if you're listening to this podcast, you feel the same way we do, or you wouldn't be here.
Right. I want to tell
Um,
you something real quick. It's I actually ended up having a little bit of time after I gathered up all my things and switched my rooms, got everything set back up again. You were nice enough to, go run some errands so I could get all that stuff done. So now, I had a few minutes to look over some stuff, and I did not realize how many cases have used billboards for getting tips and catching a killer. Um,
oh, good. You mean they were actually successful?
yeah, the very first case that
Nice.
has ever been used to catch a killer by the police now, was Oba Chandler. It was out of Tampa Bay, Florida, and I don't know a whole lot about the case. I just know that he was American serial killer, convicted and executed in '89 for killing Joan Rogers and her 2 daughters. And the police
Mm-hmm.
actually used a billboard to put up, they were looking for, I don't know exactly what they put on the billboard because I didn't get that far, but they were successful in that. They got tips. They were led to the person's home, and he was arrested, and then the rest is history. But there's tons of them. There's one where a man by the name of Allie, I'm sorry, a woman by the name of Allie Kemp, a young woman, she was killed. She was like she worked at a pool doing like the, people checking it, coming in to swim and making sure, I guess they had everything. Maybe they had to pay. I don't know. And long story short, she was killed, and her father went to go get a billboard to help catch her killer. And the company actually, the advertising company that had the billboard, they actually ended up donating it so that he could use it, and they would actually switch it to different locations. And they ended up getting a bunch of tips and ended up catching someone on that case as well. And that's two out
Awesome.
of many.
Over the years, I remember seeing them. I think even when I was a kid in the car with my
Mm-hmm.
parents, I think I remember seeing a couple of case, if you've heard anything about this, call this number,
Right. Yeah.
kind of about murder cases. So yeah,
And,
that's
and
interesting. I like the
And they
idea.
said the reason that they're so successful. I mean, I know some of it's probably obvious, but it makes perfect sense. That we do social media, and it's really good. Of course, a lot of these times they didn't have all of the things that we have today, but I still think that it would be good because it's 24/7. It's not when somebody's on social media, it's always there for people constantly passing by and seeing it. And they said as soon as they put a murder, investigation type information on a billboard, they instantly start receiving tips again.
Wow, that's so cool. And things that you do see when you're driving are very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember this, but I think it was about 20 years ago. I was really young. I remember there was the case. It was a little bit more than 20 years ago, 25 years ago, maybe. There was a case over at DFW Airport where they used to have in the mid to late 90s is when I believe this took place because I'm thinking about what I was doing back then. And I was at the airport a lot. And I remember my dad was dropping me off this one particular time, and they had just put in those signs that tell you, okay, so you're driving toward the airport and you're getting in your lanes. And there was these signs up above that would tell you when things departed and what was delayed. It was really nice, but it was designed for obviously for the passenger to look at or maybe the driver to glance at for a second, but it wasn't intended to replace calling to hear what was going on. This is before everyone had smartphones and stuff like that. So you would pretty much look at that sign, or there was a number you could call to hear what was delayed back then,
Mm-hmm.
like 1997, I would
Uh-huh.
say, 1996, somewhere in that range. And the signs were up. Well, someone had an accident. They smashed into another car, and they blamed it on those signs, which I thought was really interesting. But I guess the point I'm trying to make here is that people do respond to signs. You look at them
Yeah.
and you can't help it. Even if I don't know, I just found that even when I knew that mine wasn't going to flash up there, and I knew exactly because I had just gotten off the phone and checked my flight, I still find myself wanting to look at that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because even if I didn't need the information.
Yeah. No, that makes
So,
sense.
oh, and this is ironic. This is a side thing. Speaking of that case with American Airlines, that there was a civil lawsuit as a result of that wreck, and the people sued American Airlines for having those signs up. And I know I wanted to say, hey, that was your own stupid fault for using it wrong, but
Yeah.
they blamed it on American Airlines. And I was on the mock jury for that.
Oh,
And
wow.
guess who? Yeah, guess who was there? I got to meet him. This is before he was who he is now. But the owner of that jury consultant company was Phil McGraw, Dr. Phil. But this is
Oh.
before he was Dr. Phil. Yeah, and I remember him going. He looked and talked just like he does on his TV show. He had his hand up on his chin, and I remember he pointed at me because everyone had to raise their hands. I was in the vast minority. I was pretty much the only one that thought that the driver of the car was at fault
Right.
and that they
Really?
so yeah, I was amazed. But anyway, I raised my hand and he said, "Now what made you vote that way?" And then I explained it. But anyway, that was a cool experience. And that's a little aside thing I wanted to mention. Dr. Phil, he used to live in Dallas, those of you that don't know it, who couldn't tell from his accent, but he
Right.
owned a place called that. The name of his company was called Courtroom Sciences, and it was a lot of fun. I did it in between car shows. A good friend of mine from growing up from high school was actually the receptionist there. And she called me one day and said, "Hey, would you want to come be on a mock jury where I work?" And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm home. I'm in town." So she signed me up and it was super fun. So
Oh, that
anyway,
sounds
and I got
fun.
paid. Yeah, and it paid well too. It was really a neat experience.
Wow.
But anyway, so I really went off on a tangent there.
That's okay.
Um, but yeah, I agree. I think that a billboard would be a great idea. So maybe we could, if anyone out there is an expert on crowdsourcing, I mean, I guess we could just do a GoFundMe or something, or maybe have a third party collect the money. I guess GoFundMe is a third party, aren't they?
Well, you know what?
Something that would hold something that would hold us accountable. I mean, I wouldn't want people to think that we were trying to,
Yeah.
collect money for our own benefit or something. We would have to have some way that we could show the public that the money that we collected did 100% go to the billboard.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm not quite sure how to do that and
Right.
how to set that up, but we should look into it for sure.
Yeah, I looked while I was sitting here looking these up, I was shocked at all the cases that like I said that had been solved using billboard advertising. And the one that I was telling you about the girl Allie Kemp that was killed, Lamar Advertising donated a billboard. And so while I was looking that up, I just typed in billboard advertising because I have Googled this before. And I'm sure we've all Googled all kinds of things, and you just type it in different ways until you figure out a way to find what you're looking for. And for some reason, I haven't ever been able to find it, but it's weird because today, while I was doing this, I found it. So I found several different websites, and then it was kind of weird the way they were worked. I couldn't really figure anything out. And then I got Lamar Advertising, and I didn't look it up specifically. It was in the list. So anyway, I pulled it up, and it has a map, and you just kind of shows you United States, and you zoom in and you find your city and you click on it, and it shows there's 2 billboards in Midlothian. um, I don't know that they don't seem to be in a really good location in my opinion, but you can look at them later. But anyway, and then I scrolled around and I found 2 in Waxahachie, and they're kind of headed towards Midlothian. There's one headed towards and then one headed from, either way. But anyway, it was just interesting, and it has it shows a picture of where it's at. It shows the price. So anyway, it's just something to think about. Maybe we could, kind of work towards doing something like that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And I mean, who normally pays for those billboards? Would you say it was the family or law enforcement in the past?
It's been both from what I can tell on the few cases that I looked up. Now, one of them, it says Clear Channel, and I think Clear Channel is that a cable channel? I know I've heard of
I
it.
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of it too.
They actually donated the billboard, and they moved it accordingly for this one case for a Michael Hagan Jr. And then the police handled another one, and then that other one I was telling you about, the father was going to pay for it, and then when they found out what he was doing, they just donated it to him. And then he did other things, like they did posters and things like that. But that was just 3 cases that I really just glanced over just to kind of skim through the wording and stuff that I've seen. So I think it comes from different people, like families do it, police do it.
Yeah, I just looked up Clear Channel, and Clear Channel has a division that does outdoor
Oh,
advertising, like
okay.
signs and stuff.
Yeah.
So
They
that
might have done
probably was,
that digital billboard, I bet is what it was on that one.
yeah,
Yeah.
it says Clear Channel Outdoor Holdings Incorporated, also known as Clear Channel Outdoor, is an American out-of-home advertising company based in New York City. It was formerly a subsidiary of iHeartMedia,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't think we're on yet. Whoops, we need to be. So anyway, yeah, that's pretty cool. Um,
Interesting for sure.
It would be, that would be ideal. Instead of collecting from our listeners and from supporters, it would be really nice if a company would donate a billboard.
Absolutely.
That would be great.
Yeah. What better way to get advertising? I mean, you know what I'm saying? In a way, to donate something for such a great cause, and then everybody finds out about it, and it just because I mean I didn't know anything about Lamar Advertising, didn't know
Right.
anything about it until I read it in that article that they donated it for someone to do the same thing that we're wanting to do. So I don't know. Maybe we can.
You know, you bringing that up brings up another question that a lot of people have asked and over the years. There has been no mention lately. There was companies, it was
Oak Farm.
I'm drawing
Oak
Oak
Farm.
Farms, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Do we still have the reward? It was up to, I believe, $50,000 at the top end the last time we heard,
Mm-hmm.
but that's been years now. Does that still hold true if someone calls in a tip
I've wondered
that
that.
gets an
Yeah,
arrest?
I've wondered that. Does that like expire? Does it just stay forever? I mean, I don't know how that works. I really don't. I don't know if they like put the money somewhere and it just stays until something happens. Maybe we can, if anybody knows that answer, please let us know because we don't obviously know. But that would be a really good, uh, that's a good question. And that would be something that would be very beneficial to know because I have no idea. And I don't even know I mean, obviously, I guess you would ask the police, but is that something that they would be like, oh, yeah, or, I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I've wondered about that. A couple people have asked us, and I just don't have any information on that at all. I remember the last time it was written up in the media, but that's been a couple years at least now.
I think the one for Delphi, and I can't remember the amount, but I mean, that reward is very large. It's like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And that makes sense because that case has gotten a lot of traction as far as the public eye.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Delphi now has a much bigger following than Missy's case.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems to get a lot more media attention. I feel like the Delphi case, well, and also because their police department is good about updating. Um, but yeah, I haven't heard anything about our reward in a long time, and just even announcing that would bring some attention to the case again.
Right. I agree. It's a big silent mystery.
It really is a silent mystery. Is there anything else we wanted to cover? And I keep saying over and over. Is there a class I can take to teach me how to stop saying It's ridiculous.
You know what? It's so crazy because I think it's become a habit for people to do that when we're searching for words, which I know I do all the time. I'm always like, what is that word I'm trying to say? And it's not something that I really don't know. It's just I can't think, or maybe I'm thinking of too many things at once. I think it's just a habit we've gotten into because I know I do it too. Like right now, see, like
Well,
it's just
maybe if we maybe if we ever get a budget to work with, we can hire someone to edit out our ums. I'm sure there's people in the audience right now audibly clapping.
right.
But yeah, I would love to get rid of our, little bleeps and blurbs, but we're busy moms and busy with work and just it's not in I don't think we have an extra even 5 minutes to put into editing. So maybe someday we'll get there where we can hire someone.
That would be really good. I know the girl that one of the girls that I watch a podcast. I watch it. I guess it's a video cast. I don't know. Anyway,
Right.
it's on YouTube, and you can tell how she edits hers, but I really like it because she'll be talking, and I guess maybe she goes, oh, or something like that, and she just cuts it off and then just instantly starts the next. It's kind of like that thing you were talking about where it automatically um, cuts out the deep
Yeah.
spots. That would be so
I
good.
really, I really think that victimology has something like that because hers, there was no hesitation, there was no dead air, there was no dead space, there was no interferences, no funky sounds, and no ums. I really think that they have their editing, and we need to figure out how to do that.
Right. I agree. So if anybody has any pointers on that as well, please let us know.
That's right.
Yeah. But that's what we're going to talk about.
I think I pretty much spoke my piece. And then we had the thing happen at your hotel, and then I went to Kroger, and then I came back and unloaded my groceries and came back in here to finish recording.
Oh, I did want
So,
to tell you a little story that happened. I just this whole COVID thing is just, oh my gosh. I mean, I get it, and I know we've talked about this before, but it just drives me nuts because it's like, okay, so you can go to one city. So me and the girl that worked together, we went to one city and we're at New Braunfels, and everything's fine. you go in the store and some people are wearing masks, some people aren't, and they've got like one way in a store and one way out, that kind of thing, whatever. So everything's fine. And so I wanted to go to this one store that I've been looking for. And you know how in where I live in Waxahachie, they don't have a whole lot of stuff there. So we go to the city and I'm thinking, oh, while I'm here, I want to go to this one store because we don't have one. So we travel to the next city over, San Marcos, and we go into the store and we walk in the door and we don't even have our hand off the door. And the lady goes, "Do you have a mask?" And I'm like, uh, okay, let me go get it. So we go to the car, we get our mask, we come back because I don't know about anybody else, but I can breathe with them on. I put it on and I instantly feel like somebody's got their hand over my mouth and they're just keeping me from breathing. Like it's brutal for me. I mean, I'm claustrophobic anyway, but it makes it even worse. But anyway, so
Mm-hmm.
I go in there and I'm walking around and I'm pulling it away from my face every few minutes and breathing. And so I'm looking for something and I asked her, I said, "Where's the whatever I was looking for?" And she points just across the room, like it's over there. So I go over there and I can't find it. And finally end up finding it to no help from anybody that worked there. Matter of fact, they weren't doing anything but just standing over in some side thing, doing nothing. It was really frustrating. And I said all of that long story to say this. Just because we have this situation that's going on, I don't think it's a free pass for people to act like jerks and treat people like crap. And it's not a time for you to be like, oh, well, there's this COVID-19
Mm-hmm.
going around, so let's just stand over here and avoid everybody. If you, in my opinion, are that scared of the virus, and that's fine, that you have every right to feel however you feel and to be however you want to be, but you do not need to work with the public. You need to find a job where you can work from home or whatever it is that you can do, because you can't just sit over here and now not treat customers like customers and just act like we don't, scream at us when we walk in the door. "Do you have a mask?" I mean, how about, "Hi, welcome to the
Right.
cloth store, and we do require a mask. Do you have one that you can put on to come back in the store?" I mean, there's nice ways of saying it. I'm just
Right.
irritated at all these people that are just so rude, and it's just frustrating to me. I just
Well,
wanted to.
what's really strange is where I live up here just north of Dallas is everybody, I mean, not everyone, but of course a high percentage of people were being super cautious a couple weeks ago.
Mhm.
Something changed in the last not even a week, like the last few days. Something has changed and everything just looks like it's pretty much back to normal. There's still some restaurants that are closed. Not everything is in full swing, but pretty darn close. I mean, traffic is heavy again. Everybody's out, and it looked like a ghost town, like toward the end of March
Right.
and in a lot of April. But man, things are just wild now. I mean, business has picked up, which I'm happy about. There's just It's really amazing though, the difference. I'm just noticing a huge difference in people's attitudes. People are a little more upbeat. People are not it, people aren't staying home anymore. People are no longer sheltering in place where I live. That is for sure.
Well, I
And
hope
let's see.
I hope that brings them with the more normalcy that we get back in our lives. And I know it won't be 100%, but the more we get closer to that, I hope people will go back to. And I know it wasn't across the board, but at least it was a little better. I hope they get back to their common courtesy,
Yes,
respect, things
yes.
like that, because it's really frustrating. I mean, it took everything I had. If I wouldn't have really needed what I needed to go get, I would have been like, you know what, I'm not even coming in your store because you're rude and disrespectful, and I'm not going to be treated like that. But I really needed it, so I had to put on my mask, bite my tongue, and walk on in. you know.
Right. Well, today is May 20th, and my mom texted me earlier, and I haven't had a chance to read about this, but she said it was just announced on the news that schools will reopen on June 1st.
Ooh.
And that's very interesting. And that means that my daughter is going to be thrilled to have her college classes in person this summer, my oldest, but I don't know, it's really interesting to see what happens. I really hope and pray that the COVID virus will subside. I hope that reopening and getting back out there won't make it spread like wildfire. I just really hope that this thing calms down and we can get some normalcy going again because our economy might collapse if not. So
Oh
I
yeah.
really pray that all the people who have been ill with it um, get healthy and stay healthy, and this thing will stop spreading. It's really scary. You and I were talking about this. I was watching something and it was talking about how some people won't have any symptoms and then some people will. A really good example of that is Alexandra Wentworth. Do you know who she is? She's an actress, comedian. She was on
Mhm.
In Living Color a long, long time ago.
Oh, okay.
Um, anyway, she was on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee fairly recently. I really like her. But anyway, she's married to George Stephanopoulos, and she was being super cautious. I was looking at her Instagram before she tested positive, but she ended up testing positive and getting really sick with COVID. She was quarantined for 16 days, flat on her back, sick as a dog, not in the hospital, but at home.
Wow.
And check this out. Okay, so George Stephanopoulos, I kind of think now I don't have proof of this, but I kind of have a feeling that he travels a lot because most political consultants, and then now he's a member of the media. Most people like that just travel a lot and they're around people. And she was sheltering in place and being really cautious. And I had been watching her before she got sick on social media. So I kind of think it's possible that he got her sick. But check this out. George Stephanopoulos tested positive for coronavirus, but he had zero symptoms. Like he never got sick to this
Wow.
day. This is like a month ago that um all this went down. But yeah, she was sick as she could be. She said it was like the worst flu you could ever have. And she just said it went on and on and on. But George, her husband, tested positive, had not one symptom. They didn't mention their kids, and I know they have kids at home. So it makes me wonder if their kids were also just carriers and didn't have any symptoms. But
Right.
it's just this illness is such a mystery, and it's making some people really, really sick. So I know it needs to be taken seriously, but at the same time, too, we've talked about it. There's a big concern about, the economy and what that could do to people's mental health and all that. I was reading an article that says that teenagers are more likely to die from suicide than from coronavirus.
Wow.
And they were just saying, let your teenagers see each other, let them hang out a little bit, or else their mental health could be at risk and things like that. It's really interesting all the different ways you can look at this crisis. Is we've never been through anything like that before. So
No kidding.
we're all learning together.
Well, first I want to give you a shout out for being able to say Stephanopoulos because that's pretty remarkable.
You just said it. You
I
said it right.
did. But I heard you say it a couple times, so I got it. But I was like, I would have been like, da 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 da. That was pretty good. So I just thought that was really great. But
Oh, thank you.
if since you were talking about something you read, I read this earlier, and I don't know if it's true. I'm hoping that it's not because I know you can't read everything on the internet and expect it, to be exactly what it says. But somebody said that they're going to open the schools and they're going to have, I forgot what all they said. Like you can only go one way in certain parts of the school, and the classrooms are going to have less students, so they can be 6 feet apart. And there's going to be certain kids starting at this, like maybe 500 kids will be come in at 8, and then another 500 come in at 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, this is just ridiculous. I mean, that's just my opinion. I think that keeping kids away from each other is going to be pretty much. I think it's going to be pretty difficult. I mean, I think you would be better served to just put hand sanitizer in every kid's hand when they walk in the door or something. I mean, trying to keep them apart is going to be impossible. I mean,
Well, yeah, and I don't remember when it was. I want to say it was about a month ago. I read that in Israel, kids went back to school, way ahead of our kids, but they had a lot of rules. There's absolutely no touching one another. There's absolutely no sharing any supplies. So they're definitely making measure, and I imagine that'll be the same here when we all go back when our kids are all going back to school. But I thought that was kind of interesting, though. They went back several weeks ago, but definitely with a lot of caution and new rules.
yeah,
So
wow.
yeah, what you were describing makes sense. I could totally see that.
Well, I'm so
Um,
glad that that wasn't during our time because I'm not saying I have to, it's not like you have to touch somebody, but I mean, the school I went to was very small. I went to Red Oak, very small, but the halls were packed and there was tons of people there, and you couldn't walk down the hall without bumping into somebody because of the crowding. And I went to a
Oh
small
yeah.
school. I mean, there was, ninth through 12th grade there, and my graduating class was 114 people, and it was packed. The halls were packed. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how they're going to do that. I just can't even imagine my wildest dreams, and I'm so glad that it's not me having to do it. My kids are out of school, so thank goodness.
Yeah, I didn't realize that your graduating class was that small.
Yeah, 114.
That's Red Oak High School?
Yep. There's a
Wow,
picture of
that's
us.
crazy.
There's a picture of us on a bridge off of, I think it's Hampton Road. When you're coming down to Ovilla, when you're going towards Ovilla off of Ovilla Road, and you go
Hmm.
left on Hampton. I'm sure you know where I'm talking about.
I lived
There's
off Hampton and DeSoto for many years.
Yeah. So you would have lived to the right. This would have been to the left.
Uh-huh.
And anyway, there used to be a bridge there a long time ago, and that's where they took our senior picture. And yeah, 114 people.
Wow, no wonder we DeSotoites called it Dead Oak.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Now it's okay. When I
So
first moved,
ridiculous.
when I first moved there, they didn't have. It's going to sound so funny. They didn't have any red lights. I mean, it just makes me sound like I'm a million years old, but I'm not. But there was no red lights, and there was only like a small grocery store. And I think if anybody listens to this podcast and they're from Red Oak, they're going to be going, yeah. But there was only a small grocery store called Stanford's. And at one point, they turned the Stanford's into a funeral home, and then they demolished the funeral home. And the other day I was driving through Red Oak, and I noticed that it's now something completely different. And I don't remember what it was, but it's like a brand new building there. But anyway, that was the only grocery store there was. And so if you wanted to go to a big store, you had to go to DeSoto, to the Kroger or the Walmart.
Oh yeah, that Walmart.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when they opened it on 35 there on the access road.
Yep.
Is that what you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah. It's actually Kroger now. The Kroger used to be Walmart, and then the Office Depot used to be Kroger, and then that other on the other side where the Long John Silver's is, that used to be Kmart.
Okay.
We're really making ourselves sound really old.
I know, right?
But anyway, so yeah, Red Oak was really small. There was no red lights or anything. And then one day, me and my mom was at the corner of 342 and Ovilla Road at a gas station right there was an Exxon. And we were literally walking in the store, and all of a sudden we heard tires screeching, and then bam, and there was a really bad wreck right there. Two cars ran into each other. And it wasn't but about a month later, and they put a red light up there. And then from there they went. But that was the first red light in Red Oak. So
Wow, that's amazing.
yeah, it's pretty crazy. It was so pretty. That's why they called it Den Oak, because there was nothing to do there but get in trouble or go to the. I think the haunted house was the biggest thing in Red Oak, pretty much.
Right. Yeah,
And
I
then
think you're right.
I
That's
just happened
interesting.
to have two kids, and they were both born in Waxahachie, and then they went to Red Oak too, and both graduated from Red Oak.
Oh, that's neat. How many were in their graduating classes?
Much more than.
Yeah.
I don't know the number, but I'm gonna say probably. Let me think for a second. Justin actually graduated from Waxahachie, but he went to Red Oak pretty much the whole time. We moved right at the end of his senior year, or the middle of senior year. Um, I want to say like 300 or maybe four.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin's was much bigger because he went to Waxahachie. So his his graduation
Mm-hmm.
was really long. And I say it,
Yeah.
my cousin graduated from Plano, and I remember going to her graduation. It was like a freaking hour or more, and Big
Mm-hmm.
Bend wasn't even close to that. So anyway, but yeah, I just small town.
Yeah. I don't know why the DeSoto kids, why we called Red Oak Dead Oak, because it's not like DeSoto was a happening place either. I mean,
Well, you
what we didn't have any business calling it Dead Oak. I mean, it was dead where we lived too.
well, you know that's
Just
funny because that's where everybody went from my town, was to DeSoto to cruise the strip.
I remember that driving aimlessly through down Hampton, around Pleasant Run and back.
It
That
was
was the
like
thing to do.
it was like a path. You went all the way down
Mhm.
to, I think it was, I can't remember the road, but it was Pleasant Run. And you turned around at the Whataburger, you hung out there, and you went back down to the Taco Bell.
My kids would be like, "What?" I'm gonna have to tell them about cruising. I don't even think they are aware that we did that. But
It's so
that
funny.
was a big deal. And
It
that
was.
shows you just how incredibly boring our town was that was what the teenagers all did.
Yep.
That is hysterical.
I know it is funny. Just thinking back about it, but I mean, I remember going with friends and being like, "We got to get dressed and get ready. We're going cruising." It just made
So
me
funny.
laugh. I know it's hilarious. My kids
No,
are.
and I remember my best friend and I would do it, and we would meet guys from Lancaster and,
Yep.
different surrounding towns. It was just like the social event of the week to go cruising.
Yeah, for hours and hours and hours. Like I think me and my friend would go till like, I don't know, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm sure her parents probably
Uh,
thought we were at my house. My parents probably thought we were at her house. But I mean, probably neither one of
mhm.
them would let us stay out that late.
I am sure, Renee, long, long, long before we knew each other, we were on Hampton Road at the
We
same time
probably
cruising.
were. We probably were. Because we're the, I don't know if people know this, but me and her are very close in age. We're like, are we like 2 weeks apart in age?
Yeah, and we graduated the same year. And ironically, we both graduated a year before we should have. We got
Yep,
moved up when we were younger.
yep.
So that's just amazing, a lot of coincidences. And we were just at the next town over. So, but we
Yep.
didn't meet until many years later, until we were like, what, 25? Because we're 29 now, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
Exactly right. I know.
but yeah.
This
But
conversation makes it sound like we're like in our 50s or 60s, but we're really not.
oh gosh. But anyway, yeah, so we were living kind of parallel lives there and never met, and then met many years later.
Yep.
So anyway, so yeah, I hope that something changes. I just feel like there needs to be a shakeup. Whatever they're doing isn't working. And I'm talking about just generally speaking, because I don't know what's not working, because I don't know what they're doing. But we definitely feel like MPD, district attorney, Ellis County, I just wish everyone would get together and work on this. It feels very compartmentalized to me. Um, I just don't feel like there is a united group working on Missy's case. It just doesn't appear that way anyway.
Right. Well, I've been saying this quote forever, but it's actually from Albert Einstein. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. I always
Hmm.
say nothing changes if nothing changes. So if you don't change what you're doing, you're going to keep everything's going to stay the same. So
Right.
you're just going to have to shake it up, you know, um, and try something different because I mean we're doing what we can to talk about the case, but obviously, and it's getting some attention, but it needs to be getting more attention. And and we can't force the police to do things. We can't go down there and go, "Excuse me, hello, can you do something?" Because they're going to go, no. So, I mean, I guess we're just going to have to try different things. Maybe we can figure out a way to get a billboard. Maybe we can find a reporter, journalist, someone who's interested in doing a story, or getting some information.
Hmm.
Maybe getting police to release another tidbit, something, a little um, token, something. I don't know. Just those
Yeah,
are
and
just
if the police would talk to the public, it would do a couple things. It would get it back in the public eye and get people thinking and being more alert and looking out for things that might be clues that would help the police. But also, I mean, the police could literally ask for help. They could say, we have resolved the situation with the Nissan Altima, or they could say, we are still actively looking for the Nissan Altima. Thank you for your efforts and please continue to look for it. Or they could say anything. They could, like you said, they could release some more of the video.
You know what's
There might,
crazy about the whole thing? I mean, not the whole thing, but crazy about us talking about this is that to me, I literally just lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
That's
it was
okay.
there and it just went poof. Uh,
Well, it is after 1 o'clock in the morning, so you get a
yeah,
pass for being tired.
sorry, I had
And
a snafu here and it kind of messed up everything.
I that's
Um,
okay. We were
but
wrapping it up anyway, so don't worry.
right. But I want to tell you this one thing if I can remember what I was going to say. I just hate it when I do that. It just happens all the time. Um, oh my gosh, I'm gonna have to start writing stuff down. My mom says, write
Hey, that's all
everything
right.
down. I'll think of it in a
Hey,
second.
don't worry about it. If you think of it, just go for it. But
Yeah.
I was just thinking that, they could say, um, here's another piece of the video. Maybe seeing the perpetrator walking in a different way would, jog someone's memory that they know someone like that. Or tell us another clue that you haven't made public. Like the small dark SUV is in the search warrant affidavit. They've never asked the public about that. It's kind of late now. I wish they would have done it on day one, but just there's so many benefits to talking to the public. I don't see any drawbacks at this point. Do you?
No, absolutely. I do not. I mean, I think it would just completely be nothing but a plus. Oh my gosh. How do you think of something that you're going to say and then as soon as you think it, it just goes away again?
Yeah. Well, it's
Have
also
you
called being 10 minutes after 1 a.m. too.
Well, I'm having one during the day, but oh, I remember. Oh, never mind. I don't remember anymore. No, I don't think that there's any. I think it would completely just be a plus. To me, there's no way that it would be bad for them to, give more information. I mean, anything would be a plus, and it would get people to talking. Um, I mean, you can't lose with keeping the. Oh, I know what I was going to say. Okay, I remember. Thank goodness.
Okay, good.
My brain is finally working.
Hmm.
Okay, so how we see people like posting stuff on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and they say something like, you know, help find Mrs. Killer, whatever. I'm just whatever, just some news source or whatever, and people will constantly come on there and go, "Oh, that wasn't solved. I had no idea. I didn't know they hadn't found the killer." Every single time people say that, they're like shocked. Oh my gosh, I had no idea. That is the part that just blows my mind, that there's so many people that don't know that this case hasn't been solved, but it's because it's not in the forefront of their mind because nobody's saying anything, you know?
Right.
I mean, that's
Yeah.
the part that's bad because it was on the TV, it was on every channel. Every channel you turn it on, it would be something, a little piece about it, and now there's nothing. And and you would think that they would want it to be in the forefront of everybody's minds. They want we want to find the killer, right? Well, we need to keep this thing going. And it's just sad that we're the ones, and the public and the people that listen to it. We know they're interested in it because they tell us all the time. I can't believe that nobody's been caught. I can't believe that. Just sad that we're all the ones collectively trying to figure out how to make this thing stay. You know,
Yeah, I don't get it. The media is supposed to be helping us hold our government accountable. I mean, where are they? I mean, we've said that before. Where the heck is everybody? I just feel like crickets are chirping. I hope we're wrong. I hope behind the scenes they're just frantically solving this case and getting their ducks in a row and they're going to make an arrest and there's going to be an indictment. I just don't see it. I don't think that I'm losing hope in that. And I don't see it happening anytime soon. But
right.
hey, I'm wrong all the time. So let's hope that I'm wrong again here.
I hope so. Actually, I do. All right. Well, I think that we covered everything that we planned on covering, with the with the exception of my little room change. But
That's
everything's good
right.
now. Things are quiet. So,
Yeah. I
and
think this is a record. This is the latest we've ever recorded. It's almost 1:15 in the morning and we're just now wrapping this thing up. But we did have a long break in between while you moved hotel rooms and I went grocery shopping, late
we
night
have,
grocery
we haven't
shopping.
been on the phone before this late for many times, but yeah, we've never
Oh,
been.
definitely. I was just meant like we're
Oh
not
yeah,
counting messenger phone calls. We're talking strictly recording this podcast. That's the record.
right,
That's
absolutely.
funny. Well, we really thank everybody for listening to True Crime Broads. Thanks for the time that you spent with us. And please let us know if you have any questions, concerns, or ideas. We would love to hear from you.